Hey Bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to bring you a library haul. I went to the library last week and I picked up, 4. I have 5 books here to show you. So the very first book that I'm going to show you, I've actually already started reading. I am about 260 pages into it. You'll notice a theme with all these books that I picked up. They're all sequels in a series because I'm really trying to focus on finishing series throughout the rest of the year, especially ones that I started this year. So the first book that I'm going to show you is Fire Study. This is by Maria V. Snyder and it is the 3rd book in the study series. I read the first book in this series in January of this year and I really loved it. I read it so fast in like 2 or 3 days. It totally had me hooked and I loved it. The second book in the series I read not too long after I read the first one. It was still really good. I still enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much, and this third one has definitely been a struggle. The first 100 or so pages I was just like, why am I reading this? I'm just not really interested. Then things really picked up and at this point I am definitely interested enough to finish, but it's mostly the plot that's keeping me interested, and as much as I love these characters, they haven't had much character growth since the very first book. I feel like they've become much more two-dimensional and sort of like flat characters, and I'm kind of just watching them go through the motions of this plot, and it's not as exciting as the first book was for me. So there is like a spin-off or like a continuation of this series that's another 3 books that I'm not sure if I'm going to read. If you guys have read more books by Maria V. Snyder, let me know what you thought of them and if you really enjoyed them, because I really loved the first book, Poison Study, and it's been going downhill since then, and I don't know how much more of her series I want to read. So let me know what you think. So the next book I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to show you 2 at once. It's kind of a funny story. So I went to the library and I picked up Asunder. Asunder is the 2nd book in the New Souls trilogy by Jodi, Meadows, and I had started this series a long time ago, and then I reread Incarnate, which is the 1st book in this series, late last year, I think, maybe early this year. Anyways, I picked up this book and I read the first like 2 or 3 pages and I realized I already read this book. I meant to pick up the 3rd book in the trilogy, but for some reason I accidentally picked up the 2nd book. So then I sent my little sister to the library to pick up Infinite, which is actually the 3rd book in the series and what I'm actually going to read. So I need to return Asunder. I'm not going to read it again. I don't need to. I read it not that long ago, earlier this year. But Infinite is the last book in the series and is definitely the one that I meant to pick up originally. So I'm hoping to get to this soon. I'm really excited to finish this trilogy. The world building in this trilogy I think is just like so unique and interesting. I don't love the characters as much as I would like to, I guess, but I like them okay, and it's mostly the world building and the plot that's keeping me really interested. I want to know what's going on. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue, and I just think the world is so interesting because it's futuristic but also fantasy. There's dragons, but there's technology, and it's just a really cool juxtaposition, and I want to finish the trilogy. So I picked that up. Another book that I picked up is The Grey Wolf Throne, and this is by Cinda Chima. It is the 3rd book in the 7 Realms series. I started reading the 7 Realms series earlier this year and I have loved it. I really enjoyed the first book. I think I enjoyed the 2nd book even more. I love these characters and this world. I really want to continue the series. I can't believe I haven't read this yet. It is definitely a chunker. It's over 500 pages, but as soon as I have the time, I'm definitely going to be picking this up and reading it. I have loved the series so far, and I really need to know what happens to these characters. And then the last book that I recently picked up from the library is Like a River Glorious by Carson. This is the 2nd book in the Gold Seer trilogy. The first book is Walk on Earth a Stranger. I read that earlier this year, I think in January, maybe February, but I really loved it. I listened to that one on an audiobook and it kind of surprised me how much I really loved it. The series is a little bit hard to explain because it's mostly, I would say, historical fiction set in the time of the Gold Rush, which is like a time period that I haven't read that much about, but it does have a magical element to it, but I wouldn't really call it a fantasy. I really love the characters. The characters become like this really close-knit family, even though they're not family, so if that's something that you enjoy reading, I definitely recommend the series. I have been putting off reading this actually on purpose because the 3rd book in the trilogy, the last one, comes out later this year, and I kind of wanted to like space them out so I wouldn't have to reread anything, and everything would still, kind of be fresh on my mind, but I'm starting to forget some of the things that happened in the first book, so I need to get to this soon. And the third book comes out, I think, in September. It's in the fall, so it's not that far away. So I definitely am ready to read this soon. Okay, guys, so those are the 5 books that I picked up from the library most recently. I've already started reading Fire Study, like I said, but other than that, if you guys have recommendations on what I should read next, I haven't quite decided on the order of how I'm going to read these books. So definitely leave your ideas down in the comments if you have any recommendations of which ones of these you've read, what you thought, where you think I should start with them. So that's all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye!
I'd love to, Jade, but I misplaced my reading glasses in another dimension.
I said that last time.
Wait, why'd you put Siri on?
I didn't, but anytime I say series, she thinks I'm talking to her. She's doing it again. Which is the second book in the... No, that's the name of the first book. This is the second book in the New Blood, New Soul. It's the second book... Okay, because it's the second book in the... I can't talk. The first book is it a trilogy? This is... Bye!